There was a time when women were not even allowed to hold a paintbrush. Painting was considered a domain only for men. But this rule was broken by a woman. Quietly, yet with unwavering steps. She painted, she succeeded, she amazed, and she changed all the rules. This woman became a star of her era and an inspiration for generations of female artists yet to come. Her artworks adorned the walls of queens, and royal courts sought her brush. This story is not just about art. It is about the historical struggle of women, their strength, and their brilliance. This is the story of Sofonisba Anguissola. Fact 1. Genius born in an artistic family. Sofonisba Anguissola was not born into an ordinary family. She came into a home where art was literally in the air. Her father, Amilcare Anguissola, was both a nobleman and an art enthusiast, and he paid great attention to the education of his daughters. At that time, even reading and writing were limited for women, and learning art was considered nearly impossible. But Amilcar broke all these rules. He encouraged his daughters to study painting, music, and science, and Sofonisba shone brightest in this environment. As if colors flowed through her veins, her talent was noticeable from the very beginning. Every brushstroke was sharper, more vibrant, more expressive. Although all the daughters practiced art, Sofonisba quickly distinguished herself. Fact 2. One of the first stars among female artists, Sofonisba Anguissola is considered one of the first great stars among female artists in history. In her time, art was almost exclusively a domain reserved for men. Women were not even encouraged to paint. It was seen as inappropriate. But Sofonisba quietly yet confidently broke this rule. She picked up a brush and shook all of Europe with her artworks. Her portraits were so vivid, so full of emotion, that people were astonished when they learned a woman had created them. This was not just artistic talent, it was a revolution that shattered the rules of the era. Sofonisba's name echoed in royal courts, and her paintings adorned the walls of queens. And for the first time in history, the concept of a female painter entered the world with respect, power, and genius. Fact 3. A woman in a world dominated by male artists. During the Renaissance, being an artist meant having access to wealthy workshops, academies, masters, and most importantly, being a man. Women were almost completely excluded from this world. Even if they practiced art, they rarely had the opportunity to make their names known. But Sofonisba Anguissola broke through that barrier with her brush. She stepped into an environment dominated by men and showcased her talent without fear, without hesitation, without limitations. Her artworks were so powerful that her gender no longer mattered. Only the strength of her art spoke. Male artists would look at her paintings in admiration, and some even felt defeated. This was extremely rare, because Sofonisba was not just a woman. She was an artist who won the competition. Her skill attracted immense attention. Courts, queens, and renowned masters all spoke her name. Sofonisba earned her place in history not as a female artist, but as one of the most powerful painters of all time. Fact 4. Sofonisba's religious faith and its influence on her art. Sofonisba Anguissola was not only a great painter, but also a woman with deep religious faith. During the Renaissance, religion stood at the center of everything: life, art, politics, and culture. And Sofonisba grew and developed within this spiritual world. In her artworks, she expressed not only beauty, but also spirituality, calmness, and a search for divine meaning. The people she portrayed were shown not just through their physical features, but through their inner world, their innocence, emotions, and spiritual essence. This clearly demonstrated how strongly her religious belief influenced her art. For Sofonisba, painting was more than a craft. It was a way to understand and reveal the beauty created by God. Yes, Sofonisba Anguissola was Christian. More specifically, she belonged to the Roman Catholic Church, as Catholicism was the dominant faith in Italy and the Spanish courts during her time. Fact 5. Sofonisba's Smiling Women Revolution. Sofonisba Anguissola changed the history of art not only through her technical skill, but also through the atmosphere she created in her paintings. One of her most famous works is a series of portraits featuring her young sisters. These paintings were completely new for their time. During the Renaissance, female portraits were usually serious, restrained, and emotionless. Smiling was considered inappropriate. But Sofonisba changed all of that. She portrayed women for the first time as smiling, lively, natural, and full of life. In these portraits, it wasn't just a facial expression. There was joy, affection, warmth, and innocence. Because of this, people looked at her paintings with astonishment. Sofonisba presented the female figure not as a static symbol, but as a human being with emotions. Fact 6. Sofonisba became the queen's personal painter. Sofonisba Anguissola became famous not only in her homeland, but across all of Europe. Her talent was so admired that Queen Elizabeth of Spain personally invited her to the royal court. At that time, becoming the queen's personal painter was an extraordinary honor. This position was reserved only for the most skilled, trusted, and refined artists. Sofonisba achieved this role as a woman, something extremely rare in art history. She painted portraits of the queen, participated in court life as a respected figure, and even taught painting to young noblewomen. This opened doors for more women to enter the world of art, creating a powerful shift in a male-dominated field. In the royal court, her name was spoken with great respect, and her artworks were seen not only as decorations, but also as symbols of prestige and diplomacy. Sofonisba Anguissola therefore became more than just a painter. She became a symbol of women's rise in the arts. Fact 7. Sofonisba's art inspired a new generation of women artists. Sofonisba Anguissola did more than create beautiful paintings. She opened a door that had been closed for centuries. During the Renaissance, women were rarely allowed to study art seriously. Most female artists remained invisible because society did not accept them as professional creators. But Sofonisba broke this barrier with her talent and confidence. Her success proved something powerful. Women could be masters of art, not just amateurs. Young girls in noble families began to learn painting because Sofonisba showed it was possible. Her portraits became models for students, and her techniques were studied with admiration. Even male artists acknowledged her skill, and many later female painters looked up to her as their first role model. Because of Sofonisba, the idea of a female artist stopped being a rarity and started becoming a possibility. She didn't just paint, she changed the future of women in art. Sofonisba Anguissola became a symbol of courage, talent, and persistence, inspiring countless women who dreamed of holding a brush. Fact 8. Sofonisba's success at court. Sofonisba Anguissola became famous not only in her homeland, but across all of Europe. She was invited to the Spanish royal court, where she served as the painter of the princesses. At a time when it was extremely rare for a woman to hold such a prestigious position, Sofonisba excelled effortlessly. Her talent, calm confidence, and professionalism made her stand out. Her artworks were deeply respected at court. Queens and princesses took painting lessons from her and admired her techniques. Sofonisba wasn't just a painter in the royal court. She became a role model for women and a symbol of a new artistic era. As her name spread through the courts, the status of female artists slowly rose thanks to her influence. Fact 9. Sofonisba and her relationship with male masters. Sofonisba Anguissola was respected alongside the most famous male artists of her time, something almost impossible during the Renaissance. Many renowned masters admired her work, studied it closely, and occasionally even drew inspiration from her. Although she wasn't formally part of major academies or workshops, her talent opened doors that had long been closed to women. Her painting technique was so refined that many artists described her as master level despite being a woman, a phrase that broke the stereotypes of the era. She participated in major artistic discussions, proved herself through her work, and held her ground in a male-dominated art world. This relationship didn't just elevate Sofonisba, it opened a new chapter for all female artists in history. Fact 10. Sofonisba Anguissola's death and lasting legacy. Sofonisba Anguissola passed away in 1625, far from the fame she earned during her lifetime. By the time she died, the world had almost forgotten her name. Her paintings remained in royal collections, but her story slowly faded. Yet history has a way of correcting itself. Centuries later, art historians rediscovered her work and realized how groundbreaking she had been. Today, Sofonisba is celebrated as one of the pioneers of female artistry, a woman who broke barriers long before it was possible. Her legacy lives on in museums, textbooks, and in the countless women artists who followed her path. Sofonisba may have died quietly, but her influence continues to shine loudly.